God's chosen ones. Listen carefully. This is no ordinary moment. If you've been drawn to this message, it's not by coincidence, it's divine alignment. There is something God has been trying to tell you, and today, you only have limited time to respond. That urgency you're feeling in your chest right now, it's not fear, it's the Holy Spirit stirring your soul. Because what you're about to hear will shift your atmosphere, crack open the spiritual veil that's been hiding the truth from you, and launch you into the very breakthrough you've been praying for. You've been sensing that something is coming, that something is near. And you're right. This is not just another motivational message. This is your prophetic summons. It's the confirmation you didn't know you were waiting for. The countdown has already begun. The truth is about to be revealed. And your life will never be the same again. Before we go deeper, let me speak directly to your heart. You are part of something bigger, something holy. Your love and generosity, even your presence here right now, means the world to heaven. If you can already feel the pull of this message in your spirit, comment 777 right now as a bold declaration that you're ready to receive, ready to rise, and ready to obey what God is about to reveal. Now, here's what heaven wants you to understand. Psalm 139:16 declares, "Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. You were not an afterthought. You were not a mistake. Every step of your journey, every delay, every setback, every heartbreak was designed to bring you to this exact moment. What if this is the message that finally unlocks the door that's been spiritually sealed for years? But let me ask you something that may stir your soul to its core. What if the delays, the setbacks, the heartbreaks were all designed to bring you here? What if this is the moment that finally unlocks the door that's been spiritually sealed for years? And what if missing this one moment is the very thing that could hold back the flood of blessings that were supposed to be yours? You see, this isn't about fear. It's about awakening. You're not here to live an average life. You're here because you are marked, set apart, and chosen for something sacred. The enemy has tried to convince you that you're forgotten, that your prayers go unheard, that your struggles are meaningless. But heaven is declaring today, you have been seen, you have been heard, and you have been strategically positioned for breakthrough. I know you've been through seasons that tested everything within you. The silent nights when you cried yourself to sleep, the mornings when you barely had strength to pray, the moments when you wanted to give up but whispered, "Lord, I still trust you." Those moments weren't small in heaven. They were massive victories in the spiritual realm. Every tear you shed in secret, every prayer you whispered in desperation, every act of faith when everything looked hopeless has been recorded in heaven's ledger. Think about Esther, a young woman who felt ordinary, who questioned her purpose. Yet Mordecai told her in Esther 4:14, "Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? That same divine timing is operating in your life right now. Every closed door, every rejection, every moment you felt invisible, was God protecting you until this appointed time, just as Esther was hidden in the palace, preparing for her moment of purpose. You too have been hidden, prepared, and positioned. Even in our modern world, we see this principle at work. Consider Oprah Winfrey, who was born into poverty, faced abuse, and struggled for years before her breakthrough moment came. She often says, "I trust that everything happens for the best," even when we don't understand it at the time. What she discovered, and what you're about to understand, is that God's timing is perfect. even when it feels delayed. Or think about Tyler Perry, who lived in his car for years, rejected by studios, ridiculed by critics. He said, "I had to learn how to praise God even when things were going wrong. My trust in Him didn't start when things got better. It started in the pain." You may have once asked, "Why is it taking so long? Why does it feel like nothing is working out? God, did you forget me?" But now you see, those moments weren't wasted. They were strategic pauses, holy delays designed to align your heart, your environment, and your readiness for the magnitude of what's ahead. The delays weren't denials. They were divine design. The confusion that once clouded your path is clearing. The spiritual fog is lifting. Can you feel it? The atmosphere is shifting around you right now. That weight you've been carrying, that confusion that's clouded your path, it's lifting. You are no longer wandering in circles. You are now standing at the gateway of your breakthrough. And the veil is being pulled back. The voice of God is getting louder in your spirit. You will no longer walk alone. God is bringing divine alignments. Today, I'm going to reveal 3 divine truths that will transform how you see your current season. First, time is ticking. Divine windows don't stay open forever. And your moment of decision is now. The spiritual clock is moving. And what's available today may not be tomorrow. Second, God is guiding your breakthrough. Heaven has been orchestrating events behind the scenes. And your breakthrough is not accidental but appointed. Every setback was a setup. Every delay was divine timing. Third, don't resist. You are marked by God. And resistance to His calling is resistance to your own destiny. The very thing you're afraid to embrace may be the key to everything you've been praying for. These aren't just concepts. They are keys to unlock the next dimension of your life. They are spiritual instructions, divine strategy for your next season. Stay with me. Stay focused. Because what comes next will either confirm everything you've quietly believed in your heart or challenge everything you thought you knew about God's timing in your life. Your divine appointment starts now. The countdown has already begun. Von high, time is ticking. Divine urgency. There are moments in life when time seems to stop. Moments when the atmosphere shifts and your soul can sense that something greater is happening. You are in one of those sacred moments right now, but here's what you must understand. This moment will not wait forever. Just as the angel told Lot to flee Sodom without looking back in Genesis 19:15-17, this message comes with urgency. God is offering clarity, guidance, and instruction, but the window to receive it is narrow. Can you feel the divine clock ticking? This isn't just about earthly time. This is about Kairos time, God's perfect timing that operates outside our human understanding. Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven." There is a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to wait and a time to act. And beloved, your time to act is now. Divine windows don't operate like human schedules. They open when heaven declares it's time, and they close when the season shifts. These aren't arbitrary deadlines. They're spiritual seasons orchestrated by the Almighty Himself. When God opens a window, it's because everything in the spiritual realm has aligned for your breakthrough. When He closes it, it's because the season has shifted to something else. Think about Noah, who was given specific instructions to build an ark before anyone had seen a drop of rain. Genesis 6:22 tells us, "Thus Noah did, according to all that God commanded him." So he did for 120 years. Noah built while others mocked. He prepared while others partied. But when the rain began, when the floodgates of heaven opened. Only those inside the ark survived. What if Noah had waited until the clouds formed? What if he had delayed until he saw the first raindrops? He and his family would have perished with the rest of the world. The door of the ark was opened by God himself, but it was also closed by God himself. Genesis 7:16 says, "And the Lord shut him in." There came a moment when the time for entering was over, when the window of salvation closed. Those outside could pound on the walls, they could cry and plead, but the season had passed. The opportunity was gone. God's instructions often come before visible confirmation, before logic makes sense, before circumstances align. That's why faith is required. That's why immediate obedience is crucial. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to recognize God's hand moving. The longer you hesitate, the more doubt creeps in. Divine timing isn't about convenience, it's about obedience. Consider Moses at the burning bush. God didn't give him weeks to think about it. Exodus 3:2-4 shows us that Moses had to turn aside in that moment. He had to pay attention when God was speaking. The bush was burning, but it would not burn forever. Moses could have walked past, thinking it was just a strange natural phenomenon. He could have said, "I'll investigate this later when I have more time." But something made him stop. Something made him turn aside. And in that moment of curiosity and obedience, his entire destiny changed. But here's what's powerful. Verse 4 says, "When the Lord saw that he turned aside to look, God called to him from the midst of the bush." God was waiting for Moses to pay attention. The burning bush was God's way of getting his attention, but Moses had to choose to respond. Divine encounters require our participation, our willingness to turn aside from the ordinary and pay attention to the extraordinary. Or think about Gideon in Judges 7. God gave him specific instructions for a midnight attack against the Midianites. The timing was crucial, not just the hour, but the exact moment when the enemy was vulnerable. Gideon couldn't delay. He couldn't second guess. When God said, "Arise," he had to arise. When God said, "Go down," he had to go down. The victory was in the timing, and the timing was in the obedience. God had already shown Gideon the strategy, already confirmed the victory through the barley loaf dream, already reduced his army to show that the battle belonged to the Lord. But all of that preparation meant nothing if Gideon didn't act when the moment came. At midnight, when the enemy was deep in sleep, when their guard was down, that was the Kairos moment. Miss that window, and the opportunity would be gone. Even Jesus operated under divine timing, understanding that his Father had orchestrated every moment of his earthly ministry. In John 2-4, he told his mother, "My time has not yet come." But later, in John 17-1, he declared, "Father, the hour has come." Jesus understood that there are appointed seasons, divine windows that open and close according to heaven's schedule. When his time came, he didn't hesitate. He moved with purpose and urgency toward the cross. In Luke 19:44, Jesus wept over Jerusalem, saying, "You did not know the time of your visitation?" The people missed their moment. They didn't recognize when God was moving among them. They were so focused on their expectations, so bound by their traditions, that they missed their divine appointment. Their window of opportunity closed, and the consequences lasted for generations. The same principle applies to your life right now. There are divine seasons, spiritual windows that God opens for breakthrough, promotion, and purpose. But these windows don't stay open indefinitely. Delayed obedience is disobedience, and disobedience can cost you the very thing you've been praying for. In our modern world, we see this truth reflected in the stories of those who seized their moments. Steve Jobs once said, Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. He understood that opportunities have expiration dates, that innovation requires immediate action when inspiration strikes. When he envisioned the iPhone, he didn't wait for perfect conditions. He moved when the vision was clear. He didn't wait for all the technology to be perfected. He pushed forward with what was possible. Consider the story of Colonel Sanders, who was 62 years old when he started KFC. He had failed at multiple businesses, lost his restaurant during highway construction, and was living on Social Security. But when he had the idea to franchise his chicken recipe, he didn't say, "I'm too old," or "It's too late." He understood that divine timing isn't about age. It's about readiness to act when God opens the door. Think about Tyler Perry, who struggled for years, living in his car, facing rejection after rejection. But when his breakthrough moment came, when he was offered the opportunity to stage his first play, he didn't hesitate. He didn't wait for better circumstances. He seized the moment with everything he had. He later said, "God has already lined up all the people in your path to get you to your dreams and your visions. But you have to stay on the path." That path included recognizing when the right door opened and walking through it immediately. Or consider J.K. Rowling, who was given a tight deadline by her publisher for the first Harry Potter book. She was a single mother, struggling financially, dealing with depression. She could have asked for more time. She could have waited until her life was more stable. Instead, she wrote with urgency, understanding that some opportunities don't come twice. That deadline became the catalyst for one of the most successful literary franchises in history. What looked like pressure was actually divine pushing. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team, but instead of giving up, he used that rejection as fuel. He didn't wait for the coach to change his mind. He immediately began working harder than ever before. He understood that setbacks are often setups for comebacks, but only if you respond with immediate action instead of prolonged pity. These aren't just success stories. They're spiritual principles in action. God arranges divine appointments, but appointments have specific times. He opens doors of opportunity, but doors can close. He provides windows of breakthrough, but windows have frames, and those frames have limits. Miss the appointment, walk past the door, ignore the window, and you may have to wait for another season entirely. So let me ask you directly, what opportunity are you missing by waiting? What door is closing while you hesitate? What breakthrough is being delayed because you're waiting for perfect conditions? What divine appointment are you about to miss because you're not paying attention to the signs around you? Hebrews 3:15 warns us, "Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when circumstances improve, not when you have more money in the bank, not when you feel more qualified. Today, this very moment, right now." The word "today" appears over 200 times in Scripture because God operates in the present moment. He's not asking you to understand everything. He's asking you to trust Him enough to move. He's not demanding perfection. He's requiring obedience. He's not waiting for you to feel qualified. He's calling you to step forward in faith. Listen carefully. Right now, God is speaking to your spirit. That stirring you feel, that urgency in your chest, that quiet voice urging you to act, that's not anxiety. That's divine prompting. That's the Holy Spirit saying, "Now is the time. This is your moment. Don't let this pass you by." Maybe you've been praying for a sign. This is your sign. Maybe you've been asking for confirmation. This is your confirmation. Maybe you've been wondering if God still has a plan for your life. This message is proof that He does. The very fact that you're hearing these words right now, the fact that your spirit is responding, the fact that something is stirring within you, is evidence that God is moving. But here's the crucial truth that separates the chosen from the called. Divine windows don't wait for your convenience. They don't pause for your fear. They don't slow down for your doubt. They don't accommodate your excuses. They operate on heaven's timetable. And heaven's timetable is now. The question isn't whether God is ready. God has been ready since before the foundation of the world. The question isn't whether the opportunity is real. If God is speaking, the opportunity is not only real, but urgent. The question is whether you are ready to respond, whether you're willing to move past your comfort zone, past your fear, past your need to understand everything before you act. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. They don't exist in this fallen world. Stop waiting until you feel completely prepared. God qualifies the called. He doesn't call the qualified. Stop waiting for all your questions to be answered. Faith requires moving with partial information. Stop waiting for everyone around you to understand. Most people won't understand divine timing until after the breakthrough manifests. The breakthrough you've been praying for, the destiny you've been dreaming about, the purpose you've been seeking. It's all connected to your willingness to act when God says act, to move when He says move, to speak when He says speak, to step forward when He says step forward. This is your divine moment, your appointed time, your Kairos season. The spiritual clock is ticking, not to pressure you, but to awaken you, not to frighten you, but to focus you, not to rush you into foolishness, but to stir you into faith, filled action. Time is ticking because breakthrough is imminent, and breakthrough requires your immediate response to God's immediate call. The window is open, but it won't stay open forever. Heaven is waiting, but heaven won't wait indefinitely. Your moment is now, Funba. God is guiding your breakthrough. Beloved chosen ones, while you've been wondering if God has forgotten you, heaven has been working overtime, orchestrating the greatest comeback story of your life. What looks like coincidence to the natural eye is actually divine coordination to the spiritual eye. Romans 8:28 reminds us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Every setback, every closed door, every moment of confusion hasn't been working against you. It's been working for you. Right now, as you're listening to these words, there are phone calls being made on your behalf that you don't know about. There are conversations happening in boardrooms, prayers being lifted in secret places, opportunities being prepared behind closed doors, all orchestrated by the hand of the Almighty. You think you've been walking alone, but heaven has been your constant companion. You think you've been forgotten, but you've been the focus of divine attention. Think about Joseph's story in Genesis. When his brothers threw him into the pit, he couldn't see God's hand. When Potiphar's wife falsely accused him, he couldn't understand the purpose. When he sat in prison for years, forgotten by the butler he had helped, it seemed like God had abandoned him. But Genesis 39:2 tells us, the Lord was with Joseph, not just during the good times, during the pit times, not just during the promotion, during the prison season. Every betrayal was positioning him for promotion. Every setback was a setup for comeback. When Pharaoh's dreams needed interpretation, when Egypt needed a deliverer from famine, when his family needed rescue, God had already placed Joseph exactly where he needed to be. The pit led to the palace, the prison led to power, the pain led to purpose. Consider Steve Harvey, who lived in his car for 3 years, bathing in gas station sinks, wondering if his dreams would ever come true. He couldn't see that God was developing his character, strengthening his faith, preparing him for a platform that would reach millions. Every night sleeping in that car, every rejection from comedy clubs, every moment of humiliation was building the foundation for his future empire. When the breakthrough came, it came suddenly and supernaturally, from car to mansion, from unknown to household name, because God had been working behind the scenes. Or think about Tyler Perry, who faced abuse as a child, poverty as a young man, and rejection as a playwright. He couldn't see that God was using every painful experience to give him stories that would heal millions. Every tear he cried became testimony. Every wound became wisdom. Every setback became the setup for a media empire worth over $1 billion. The same God who orchestrated his breakthrough is orchestrating yours. You see, God doesn't just work in your life. He works in the lives of everyone connected to your destiny. He's been moving people, shifting circumstances, arranging divine connections. That person who rejected you last year, God was protecting you from the wrong opportunity. That job you didn't get, God was saving you for something better. That relationship that ended, God was clearing the path for divine alignment. But here's what you must understand. God's guidance isn't always obvious. It doesn't always come with thunder and lightning, burning bushes and audible voices. Most of the time, it comes as a quiet knowing, a peaceful conviction, a gentle nudge in your spirit. Isaiah 30:21 promises, whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you, saying, "This is the way, walk in it." That voice isn't always loud, but it's always loving. It's not always urgent, but it's always accurate. The key is learning to recognize it, to distinguish it from the voice of fear, the voice of doubt, the voice of human logic. God's voice brings peace even when it leads to challenge, brings clarity even when it leads to change, brings confidence even when it leads to unknown territory. How do you recognize divine guidance? First, it aligns with God's character and His Word. God will never guide you to do something that contradicts His nature or violates His principles. Second, it brings supernatural peace. Colossians 3:15 says, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts." When you're in God's will, even in difficult circumstances, there's an underlying peace that passes understanding. Third, divine guidance often comes with unexpected doors opening. When God is leading, obstacles become opportunities, rejections become redirections, setbacks become setups. You'll notice that the right people show up at the right time, the right resources become available, the right opportunities present themselves. It's too orchestrated to be coincidence, too precise to be luck. Think about the timing of meeting your spouse, starting your business, discovering your gift, finding your purpose. When you look back, you can see God's fingerprints all over the process. What seemed random was actually divine appointment. What felt like chance was actually divine choice. But divine guidance requires spiritual sensitivity, the ability to discern God's voice above the noise of the world. In our age of constant distraction, constant input, constant noise, we must learn to be still and know that He is God. Psalm 46:10. We must create space for God to speak, time for our spirits to hear, moments for our hearts to receive. Now, let's talk about the dimensions of the breakthrough God is guiding you toward. This isn't just about one area of your life. This is comprehensive restoration. When God moves, He moves in every area. Financial breakthrough is coming, but so is relational restoration. Physical healing is manifesting, but so is emotional wholeness. Career advancement is opening, but so is spiritual maturity. Ephesians 3:20 declares that God is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. The breakthrough coming isn't just meeting your expectations, it's exceeding them. It's not just answering your prayers, it's surpassing your dreams. It's not just solving your problems, it's elevating your entire life. Financial breakthrough doesn't just mean paying bills, it means having abundance to bless others. Relational breakthrough doesn't just mean ending loneliness, it means having connections that multiply your influence. Health breakthrough doesn't just mean feeling better, it means having energy to fulfill your purpose. Spiritual breakthrough doesn't just mean peace with God, it means power to impact generations. Consider Oprah Winfrey, who broke through poverty, abuse, and rejection to become one of the most influential women in the world. But her breakthrough wasn't just personal, it was purposeful. Her platform became a source of healing for millions. Her influence became a force for good. Her resources became tools for transformation. God didn't just bless her, He blessed others through her. The same principle applies to your breakthrough. God isn't just elevating you for you, He's elevating you for others. Your healing will encourage someone else to seek healing. Your financial breakthrough will inspire someone else to trust God with their resources. Your relational restoration will give hope to someone whose marriage is failing. Breakthrough also multiplies. It doesn't just affect you. It affects your children, your community, your sphere of influence. When God broke through for David, it affected his entire generation and generations to come. When God broke through for Abraham, it established a covenant that still impacts the world today. When God breaks through for you, the ripple effects will be felt long after you're gone. But breakthrough requires receiving divine guidance, not just hearing it, but acting on it. Proverbs 3:5, -6 is more than a nice verse. It's a life strategy. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. This means when God nudges you to forgive, you forgive immediately. When He prompts you to give, you give generously. When He calls you to speak, you speak boldly. When He directs you to move, you move quickly. Divine guidance requires immediate obedience. Delayed obedience is disobedience. Practical steps for receiving divine guidance include daily prayer and meditation. Not just talking to God, but listening for His voice. Journaling spiritual impressions. Writing down what you sense God is saying so you can track His leading over time. Acting on holy nudges. Those gentle promptings that come without logical explanation but carry divine authority. It also means surrounding yourself with spiritually mature people who can confirm what God is speaking. People who will encourage your faith and challenge your flesh. Iron sharpens iron, and divine guidance is often confirmed through godly counsel. Most importantly, receiving divine guidance requires faith to act even when you can't see the full picture. Abraham didn't know where he was going when God called him to leave. He just knew who was calling. Moses didn't know how he would deliver Israel. He just knew God had commissioned him. David didn't know how he would defeat Goliath. He just knew God was with him. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step. You don't need to understand the entire plan. You just need to obey the current instruction. You don't need to know how it will all work out. You just need to trust the one who holds your future. God is guiding your breakthrough, even when you can't see it, even when you can't feel it, even when you can't understand it. Behind every closed door is a divine redirection. Behind every delay is divine protection. Behind every struggle is divine preparation. Your breakthrough isn't just coming, it's already in motion. The question isn't whether God is working. The question is whether you're listening. The question isn't whether breakthrough is possible. The question is whether you're positioning yourself to receive it. The question isn't whether God has a plan. The question is whether you're willing to follow His guidance even when it doesn't make sense to your natural mind. What is God whispering to your spirit right now? What gentle nudge are you feeling? What door is He opening that you've been afraid to walk through? What step is He asking you to take that requires faith over sight? Don't ignore it. Don't dismiss it. Don't delay it. God is guiding your breakthrough, but guidance requires a guide, follower. Will you trust Him enough to follow? Chosen ones, we need to address the elephant in the room. Why do so many people resist God's calling when breakthrough is right at their fingertips? Why do we run from the very thing we've been praying for? Why do we sabotage our own destiny when heaven is trying to elevate us? The answer is both simple and complex. Resistance isn't always rebellion. Sometimes it's fear disguised as wisdom. Sometimes it's past pain disguised as protection. You see, when God calls you to something greater, your first instinct isn't always excitement. Often, it's terror, because greatness requires leaving familiar territory. Even when that territory is painful, we become comfortable with our limitations, accustomed to our struggles, addicted to our complaints. The devil you know seems safer than the God you're learning to trust. Fear of the unknown is one of humanity's greatest weaknesses, and the enemy uses it masterfully. He whispers, "What if you fail? What if you're not qualified? What if people reject you? What if God changes His mind?" These aren't just thoughts. They're warfare strategies designed to keep you from your destiny. The enemy knows that if you ever fully surrender to God's plan, if you ever stop resisting His calling, you'll become unstoppable. Consider Jonah, called by God to preach to Nineveh, but he ran in the opposite direction. Jonah 1-3 tells us, "But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish." Why did he run? Because he was comfortable with his prejudices, comfortable with his small thinking, comfortable with his limited impact. God was calling him to something bigger, something that would challenge his assumptions and expand his influence, so he bought a ticket to Tarshish instead. But you can't run from your calling without consequences. The whale's belly taught Jonah that resistance leads to isolation, confusion, and spiritual suffocation. Inside that fish, surrounded by darkness and digestive juices, Jonah finally prayed, "Those who cling to worthless idols turn away from God's love for them, but I, with shouts of grateful praise, will sacrifice to you." Jonah 2-8-9. What was Jonah's worthless idol? His comfort zone, his familiar prejudices, his small thinking. And when he finally surrendered, when he stopped resisting, not only was he delivered, but an entire city was saved. Your resistance isn't just affecting you, it's affecting everyone connected to your purpose. Past disappointments also create walls of resistance. When you've been hurt by people, when promises have been broken, when dreams have been shattered, it becomes easier to settle for less than to risk again. You develop what psychologists call learned helplessness, the belief that no matter what you do, things won't change. But God isn't people. His promises don't expire. His love doesn't diminish. His calling doesn't change based on your past failures. Imposter syndrome is another form of resistance, that voice that says, "Who am I to be chosen? Who am I to have dreams this big? Who am I to think God would use me?" But here's the truth. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. He doesn't choose the perfect. He perfects the chosen. Moses had a speech impediment. David was the youngest son. Paul was a murderer. Peter was a denier. God specializes in using unlikely candidates to do impossible things, but let me tell you what it means to be marked by God, because understanding your marking will help you stop resisting it. 1 Peter 2-9 declares, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light." Being marked by God means you carry his DNA, his nature, his power, his purpose flows through you. It means you have divine protection, not that nothing bad will ever happen, but that nothing can happen without passing through God's hands first. It means you have supernatural favor, doors open that shouldn't open, opportunities appear that shouldn't exist. Provision comes from sources you never expected. Think about Moses. After spending time in God's presence, his face shone so brightly that the Israelites couldn't look at him directly. Exodus 34-29-30 tells us, "When Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of the covenant law in his hands, he was not aware that his face was radiant because he had spoken with the Lord. When Aaron and all the Israelites saw Moses, his face was radiant, and they were afraid to come near him. That radiance wasn't makeup. It wasn't special lighting. It was the mark of divine encounter. When you spend time in God's presence, when you stop resisting his calling and start embracing your purpose, people will notice something different about you. There will be an anointing on your life that attracts the right people and repels the wrong ones. Modern marking shows up differently but just as powerfully. Unusual favor in business dealings. Supernatural peace in chaotic situations. Divine connections that accelerate your progress. You'll find yourself in rooms you weren't qualified to enter, having conversations you weren't educated enough to have, receiving opportunities you weren't experienced enough to deserve. That's not luck. That's marking. But marking comes with responsibility. Great privilege requires great accountability. Luke 12:48 reminds us, "From everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded." When God marks you, he's not just blessing you. He's commissioning you. You become his representative, his ambassador, his instrument of blessing to others. Marking also brings visibility. You can't hide when God is elevating you. People will watch your life more closely, scrutinize your decisions, question your motives. Some will celebrate your success. Others will criticize your methods. But remember, you're not performing for people. You're serving God. Their approval isn't required for your promotion. Now let's contrast resistance with surrender, because the difference determines your destiny. King Saul started with divine calling, anointed as Israel's first king, chosen by God himself. But when God asked him to wait for Samuel before offering sacrifices, Saul got impatient and acted presumptuously. When God commanded him to completely destroy the Amalekites, Saul partially obeyed. Keeping the best livestock, each act of resistance, each moment of self-will, each decision to do things his way instead of God's way, moved him further from his purpose. 1 Samuel 15:23 records Samuel's devastating words to Saul, "Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king." Saul's resistance cost him his kingdom, his legacy, his destiny. He ended his life in desperation, seeking guidance from a witch because he had lost his connection with God. Contrast that with David, who wasn't even initially considered when Samuel came to anoint a king. He was the youngest, the overlooked one, the shepherd boy. But when God called, David responded with immediate surrender. When Goliath taunted Israel, David didn't resist the challenge. He embraced it. When Saul tried to kill him, David didn't resist with revenge. He trusted God's timing. When he had opportunity to kill Saul, David resisted temptation and honored God's anointed. David's life wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. He sinned greatly, but his heart remained surrendered to God. That's why he was called a man after God's own heart. Not because he was sinless, but because he was surrendered. And that surrender led to a dynasty, to eternal legacy, to being in the lineage of Jesus Christ himself. Consider Michael Jordan, who was cut from his high school basketball team. He could have resisted, could have given up, could have decided basketball wasn't for him. Instead, he surrendered to the process of improvement, practiced harder than anyone else, developed a work ethic that became legendary. His surrender to excellence, his refusal to resist the demands of greatness, led to 6 NBA championships and global icon status. Surrender doesn't mean passivity. It means active alignment with God's will. It means saying, "Not my will, but yours be done," and then working diligently to fulfill that will. It means trusting God's timing even when it doesn't match your schedule, trusting God's methods even when they don't match your preferences, trusting God's purposes even when they don't match your plans. The immediate benefits of surrender are remarkable. Supernatural peace replaces anxiety. Divine clarity replaces confusion. Holy confidence replaces insecurity. You stop fighting battles that aren't yours. Stop carrying burdens that aren't meant for you. Stop struggling with decisions that God wants to make through you. Surrender also brings identity transformation. From victim to victor, from wounded to warrior, from chosen to commissioned. Look at Gideon. When the angel appeared to him, he was hiding in a winepress, afraid of the Midianites, but God called him mighty warrior, Judges 6:12. God didn't see Gideon as he was. He saw him as he would become through surrender. God has a remarkable ability. He calls things that are not as though they were, Romans 4:17. He called Abraham father of many nations before Isaac was even born. He called David king while he was still a shepherd. He called Peter the rock while he was still unstable. And he's calling you by your destiny name, not your history name. When you stop resisting and start surrendering, God begins the transformation process. The caterpillar doesn't resist the cocoon. It surrenders to the process of becoming a butterfly. The process isn't comfortable. Transformation never is. But the result is glorious. You emerge with wings to fly, with beauty that attracts, with purpose that inspires. Commissioning comes with divine equipment. God doesn't send you out empty-handed. When he called Moses, he gave him a rod that performed miracles. When he commissioned David, he gave him courage that conquered giants. When he sent the disciples, he gave them power that changed the world. When he commissions you, he equips you with everything you need to succeed. The equipment isn't always what you expect. Sometimes it's supernatural wisdom. Sometimes it's unusual favor. Sometimes it's divine connections. Sometimes it's financial provision. But it's always sufficient, always timely, always perfect for your assignment. So here's my question for you. Are you ready to stop resisting and start rising? Are you ready to exchange your fear for faith, your doubt for destiny, your resistance for resurrection power? Are you ready to let God transform you from chosen to commissioned, from called to conquest, from marked to manifested? The choice is yours, but the window won't stay open forever. Resistance leads to stagnation. Surrender leads to elevation. Resistance keeps you where you are. Surrender takes you where God wants you to be. Resistance is exhausting. Surrender is energizing. Resistance brings struggle. Surrender brings strength. Stop fighting the very thing that's designed to fulfill you. Stop running from the calling that's designed to complete you. Stop resisting the marking that's designed to multiply you. Your breakthrough is on the other side of your surrender. Your destiny is on the other side of your yes. Your elevation is on the other side of your obedience. The time for resistance is over. The season of surrender has begun. God is calling you higher, deeper, further than you've ever imagined. Will you say yes? Will you stop resisting? Will you embrace the marking? Will you trust the process? Your future is waiting for your answer. Chosen ones, as we reach the climax of this divine encounter, let me remind you of the 3 powerful revelations heaven has spoken over your life today. These aren't just concepts to inspire you, they are spiritual keys to unlock the next dimension of your destiny. First, time is ticking. Divine windows don't stay open forever, and your moment of decision is now. The spiritual clock is moving, and what's available today may not be tomorrow. God operates in seasons, and seasons change. The opportunity knocking at your door right now, the calling stirring in your spirit, the breakthrough that's been prepared for you. All of these have divine timing attached to them. Miss this window, and you may need to wait for another spiritual cycle to open. Second, God is guiding your breakthrough. Heaven has been orchestrating events behind the scenes, and your breakthrough is not accidental but appointed. Every setback was a setup. Every delay was divine timing. Every closed door was divine protection. God has been moving people, shifting circumstances, arranging divine connections. Your breakthrough isn't just coming, it's already in motion. The question isn't whether God is working, the question is whether you're positioning yourself to receive what He's releasing. Third, don't resist, you are marked by God. Resistance to His calling is resistance to your own destiny. You carry divine DNA, supernatural favor, holy purpose. The very thing you're afraid to embrace may be the key to everything you've been praying for. When you stop resisting and start surrendering, God begins the transformation process that elevates you from chosen to commissioned, from called to conquering, from marked to manifested. These 3 revelations are interconnected like a divine chain. Timing plus guidance plus surrender equals manifestation. You can't have breakthrough without divine timing. You can't recognize divine timing without spiritual guidance. You can't receive spiritual guidance while resisting God's will. But when all 3 align, when you embrace the urgency, follow the guidance, and surrender to the marking, heaven and earth collide over your life in the most beautiful way. Now listen carefully, because what I'm about to say could be the most important words you hear this year. This message isn't just inspiration for your week, it's your divine summons for this season. This isn't motivation to make you feel better, it's activation to make you step higher. You didn't randomly click on this video, you were divinely directed to this moment. Heaven arranged this appointment, orchestrated this encounter, scheduled this spiritual transaction. God is not speaking to you today just so you can feel encouraged and then go back to business as usual. He's speaking to rewire your thinking, recalibrate your expectations, reactivate your faith, and release you into levels of favor you've never experienced. This is a prophetic moment, a kairos encounter, a divine interruption designed to launch you into your next season. But here's what makes this moment so critical. Spiritual seasons are shifting faster than ever before. What took years to unfold in previous generations is now happening in months. What required decades of preparation is now being compressed into seasons of acceleration. God is speeding up the timeline for His chosen ones, but that also means the windows of opportunity are narrower and more urgent. Remember the parable of the 10 virgins in Matthew 25. all were invited to the wedding feast. All had lamps. All were waiting for the bridegroom. But only 5 were ready when he arrived. The difference wasn't their calling, it was their preparation. The difference wasn't their invitation, it was their immediate response. When the bridegroom came, those who were ready went in, and the door was shut. The others arrived later, pleading to be let in, but the response was devastating. Truly, I tell you, I don't know you. I'm telling you today, your bridegroom moment is here. Your divine appointment has arrived. Your breakthrough season has begun. The question isn't whether you're called, the question is whether you're ready. The question isn't whether God has a plan. The question is whether you'll respond to his prompting before the door closes. This isn't about pressure, this is about purpose. This isn't about rushing you, this is about awakening you to the magnitude of this moment. Your breakthrough is on the other side of your obedience. Your destiny is on the other side of your decision. Your elevation is on the other side of your immediate response to God's immediate call. And now, I speak prophetically over your life by the authority of God's word and the power of the Holy Spirit. You are chosen, marked, and commissioned for greatness. The same God who parted the Red Sea is parting obstacles in your path. The same God who made provision for the Israelites in the wilderness is making provision for you in your season of transition. The same God who gave Joseph favor in Pharaoh's house is giving you favor in places you've never imagined. I declare over you, divine acceleration. What should take years will happen in months. What should take months will happen in weeks. What should take weeks will happen in days. God is compressing time on your behalf, speeding up the fulfillment of his promises, accelerating the manifestation of your dreams. I declare over your finances, supernatural multiplication. Every seed you've sown in secret, every offering you've given in faith, every act of generosity when you couldn't afford it, is returning to you pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Debt is being cancelled, income is being increased, investments are being blessed, and financial doors are opening that you never even applied to enter. I declare over your relationships, divine restoration and divine connections. Toxic relationships that have drained your energy are being severed, while covenant relationships that will multiply your influence are being activated. God is bringing people into your life who will believe in your vision, invest in your purpose, and celebrate your success. The right spouse, the right business partner, the right mentor, the right team members are being aligned with your destiny. I declare over your health, complete restoration and supernatural strength. Every attack against your body is being reversed. Every diagnosis that spoke death is being overruled. Every symptom that tried to limit you is being eliminated. You will live and not die. You will declare the works of the Lord. You will fulfill your purpose with energy and vitality. I declare over your purpose, divine clarity and supernatural impact. The confusion that has clouded your calling is being lifted. The vision that has been blurry is coming into focus. The assignment that has been delayed is being activated. You will not just find your purpose, you will walk in it powerfully, influence generations through it, and leave a legacy that outlasts your lifetime. Isaiah 43:19 is your prophetic banner. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up, do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. God is doing something unprecedented in your life, something that has never happened before, something that will cause people to say, only God could have done this. The same resurrection power that raised Jesus from the dead is now operating in your life, raising dead dreams, reviving dormant gifts, resurrecting buried purposes. Romans 8:11 declares, and if the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead is living in you, He who raised Christ from the dead will also give life to your mortal body because of his Spirit who lives in you. You are not just surviving, you are thriving. You are not just getting by, you are getting ahead. You are not just hoping for breakthrough, you are walking in breakthrough. You are not just chosen, you are commissioned. You are not just marked, you are manifesting. Now, here's how you activate everything I've just spoken over your life. First, comment 777 right now as your bold declaration that you're saying yes to God's calling, yes to his timing, yes to his guidance, yes to your marking. Let that number be your agreement with heaven, your covenant with destiny, your signature on your spiritual contract with the Almighty. Second, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell because God isn't finished speaking to you. This message was just the beginning. There are more revelations coming, more prophetic words being released, more spiritual weapons being forged for your victory. By subscribing, you're positioning yourself to receive continuous spiritual nourishment, ongoing prophetic insight, regular divine encouragement. Third, share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Don't be selfish with your breakthrough. Somebody in your circle, your family, your workplace, your community is waiting for this exact word. When you share breakthrough, you multiply breakthrough. When you spread hope, you increase hope. When you become a conduit of God's message, you become a candidate for God's favor. Fourth, support this ministry through super thanks if God has blessed you through this message. Understand this. Your giving isn't just supporting a video, it's partnering with a mission. Every dollar you sow helps us reach broken hearts, heal wounded spirits, restore lost hope, activate dormant destinies. You become a stakeholder in every life transformation, every family restoration, every spiritual breakthrough that happens through this platform. But most importantly, take one immediate action based on what God has spoken to your spirit today. Don't let this be just another message you enjoyed. Let it be the moment your life changed direction. Make that phone call, send that text, submit that application, start that project, forgive that person, end that unhealthy relationship, begin that healthy habit. Step out in faith toward your dream. Your breakthrough requires your participation. Your destiny demands your decision. Your calling needs your commitment. God has done his part. Now you must do yours. He has opened the door, but you must walk through it. He has provided the opportunity, but you must seize it. He has spoken the word, but you must act on it. I close by speaking this blessing over your life. May the favor of the Lord rest upon you and remain upon you. May every step you take be ordered by heaven. May every door you approach swing open. May every word you speak carry divine weight. May every dream you pursue come to pass speedily. May your latter days be greater than your former days. May your children rise up and call you blessed. May your legacy impact generations you will never meet. You are chosen. You are marked. You are commissioned. You are breakthrough incarnate. The time is now. The season is here. The window is open. Your moment has arrived. Stop waiting. Start walking. Stop doubting. Start declaring. Stop resisting. Start receiving. Stop surviving. Start thriving. Your breakthrough begins now. Your destiny unfolds today. Your commissioning is activated this moment. Go forth in power. Walk forth in purpose. Step forth in supernatural favor. The kingdom of heaven is behind you. The angels of God are beside you. The Spirit of the living God is within you. You are ready. You are able. You are anointed. You are appointed. Now go and fulfill your divine assignment. The world is waiting for what God has placed inside you. Heaven is cheering for your success. Earth is groaning for your manifestation. Creation is eagerly awaiting the revealing of who you really are. This is your time. This is your season. This is your moment. Take it, claim it, walk in it, and never look back. Your breakthrough starts now.